guys, would you like to know how I paint a mouth in watercolor? Let's go. You can do it too. I know you can. So I start off with a pencil sketch on watercolor paper, and I've sort of marked out a field next to, or like on the same piece of paper, but I've marked it off with tape. And this is just to make sure that the colors that I test, I want to test them, the colors that I mix, I want to test them on the paper before applying them to the sketch, so that I don't ruin the sketch by choosing the wrong color or too strong a color or whatever. And I start off by wetting the paper with completely clean regular water with a big brush, and this is to ensure that the color will look more smoothly on the paper. And I start off with a very light wash of a skin color and wait till it dries, and then I apply a more rosy color for the lips. And from the beginning, I keep the light, meaning I make sure I don't just blotch in the color. I stay clear of the highlights so that I can keep the light areas intact. You can go in afterwards with, for example, white gouache or white Posca, but the result will never be as good as if you keep the white areas white or light. And I use these very light, almost feathery brush strokes to achieve the feeling of, or the illusion of, the lip surface. Meaning lips have all these tiny, tiny cracks and wrinkles and lines. And it's very important to proceed with care, so to speak, and to be very mindful about your brush strokes. Please make sure that you let every layer dry before you proceed with the next color or with the next wash of color. You can do the wet on wet technique, but that will give a completely different outlook. Now here, I am very impatient and I'm making a big mistake on purpose, because normally in watercolor, you would go from light to dark. Always start with the lightest washes and then go to the dark. But here I'm doing it the other way around. And this is just to show you that if you do that, you will potentially end up with a very patchy and not so smooth transition between the shading and the light. As you can see here, when I zoom in, there's this patchy sort of aura-like weird pattern. I will fix it a bit later. And now you might think, why paint the teeth? Teeth are white. Surely they are, especially if you've had them bleached. Most people don't have bleached teeth, and even if you have bleached teeth, there is still a certain structure on the surface of every tooth if you look closely. And so we want to make those highlights pop, and by doing so, we want to create the lightest of washes. Like, it's almost only water. It's only like the tiniest amount of maybe Payne's gray, maybe a little blue or yellow, depending on the hue you want for those teeth. And remember that the lower teeth are a bit darker because they're more in the shadow. But keep in mind those highlights at the top of the front lower teeth. And keep building. Like I say, use the lightest of washes. You can always apply more, but you can't erase it, You can't really take it back once it's there. You can, but that requires a lot of work and a lot of patching up and different kind of paper. This is a very affordable watercolor paper that I'm using here. But again, I'm just working on those details and waiting for every layer to dry. And if you're impatient, you can use a blow dryer or put them, I don't know, just please wait for it to dry. You can always, if there's one piece that you've done and you want it to dry, you can work on another part of a portrait, for instance, the nose or whatever. And here I'm going in with a lot more bold colors because I want to create more life and more contrast. It's always about creating the contrast and bringing life to the drawing. And again, I'm using these very, very light washes because I can always go back in. And it's so easy to lose your patience with watercolor because you're like, I'm going nowhere. And why do I have to wait for this layer to dry? Can't I just be a little bit more bold? And you can, but there's a price to pay. So it's better to be a little modest with your coloring. But I'm just slowly building and building and building and adding and adding and adding. And even though, it might feel like you're not going anywhere, you can take photos of your process and then go back and see that you actually got somewhere, even though it doesn't always feel like it. So yeah. I'm not spending a lot of time on the surroundings of the mouth and the shading because I wanted to show you in this video how to do the teeth and the lips and the tongue. And now, again, I'm trying to fix this problem that I had before. And instead of just using like dark, I'm also intensifying the red to keep it, again, more alive and more natural, more realistic. And it's all in the details. It really is. And I'm just going back and forth and trying to make everything come together, make everything look natural, make everything look real. And again, working on some more contrast and thereby enhancing the lighting. And then for finishing touches, I use Polychromos colored pencils from FABER CASTELL. They're amazing. And here is the final result. I also used a tiny bit of Posca, I think. Tiny dribbles of that. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing. It means a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. And you want to maybe try working on some watercolor things. I hope so. Till next time, thank you.